Hey guys, this is Nick and welcome to my Linux experiment. So, the most perceptive of you might have picked up on the fact that I am a Linux user and a Linux lover. And some of you might also be Linux users, I mean most of you probably are, and you guys might have your own reasons to use Linux. I do have my own as well, maybe they're common to yours, maybe they're not, but I think it's time I reaffirm my commitment to using Linux by listing the 7 main reasons why I think Linux is the best operating system for my use case. So let's review them right after this. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community that's got everything you need to learn a new hobby, improve on current skills, or learn a new marketable skill set. Now, since we're talking about Linux here, you guys might want to learn a new set of skills based on this OS. Maybe how to become a better sysadmin, maybe how to use the command line, or maybe just how Linux works in general. There are plenty of courses on these exact topics on Skillshare. Now personally, I've been learning how to make better real-life videos using my Galaxy S10e, and on that small smartphone camera I think I've achieved good results, and that's all thanks to this better film lighting course I've been taking on Skillshare. Now, Skillshare is super easy to use and very affordable. You can create your account for free, but if you want to dive deeper into the courses or download them for offline viewing, you can subscribe for as little as $8 a month. The first 500 of you that click the link in the description below will get 2 free months of Skillshare Premium subscriptions to try and explore their creativity. Okay, so now let's move on to the reasons that pushed me to use Linux in the first place, in no particular order. Now, the first reason that comes to mind is security and privacy. I've been growing increasingly wary of companies that try to use your data and sell them to the highest bidder or track everything you do, like for example Google, and I've been trying to free myself of most of Google services. That almost worked except for Android and YouTube. But I really like the fact that Linux doesn't really push you into a corner in that terms of stuff. Linux distributions don't try and sell your data to the highest bidder. They don't collect your personalized info, they don't collect hardware info, they don't collect usage data. Well, some distributions do, but most of the time you can just disable it at install, or it's just disabled by default. Like for example with Ubuntu, where you can disable the data collection after you install the distro, or on KDE, where the usage data tracker is disabled by default as well. Now, Linux also won't show you ads in their menu and won't reset your privacy preferences in your back after each update. Linux is just here to let your computer do what it's supposed to do, which is give you a working environment. Now, the fact that a Linux distribution doesn't have an agenda is also improved by the fact that Linux is more secure by default. Most of that security admittedly comes from the fact that it's a much smaller target for hackers or writers of malicious code. Like, these people want to target the place where there's the most people to ransom with their ransomware, or the place where they can have the most impact in terms of viruses, zombie bot creations, and stuff like that. And for now, this is Windows and not Linux. Our market share has been improved steadily for the last 2 months. It passed recently 3% according to net market share, but it's still the smallest target out there. And as such, Linux desktop is pretty free of viruses, and even if there's a virus that's been detected, it's pretty much patched out immediately, and that's thanks to the second reason why I really love Linux. And that second reason is the fact that Linux is open source. Everybody can look at the code, modify it, tweak it, and yes, it also means that hackers and malicious code writers can look at it and try to find vulnerabilities, but there are often more people looking at the code to patch out these vulnerabilities than people looking in to try and write new ones in. And recently we got the Huawei situation, where a Huawei employee was caught trying to pass a large vulnerability into the Linux kernel, either by accident or not. And this has been detected immediately and has been corrected even before the patch was submitted to the Linux kernel. So it shows that this system is secure. The open source model really makes Linux more secure. But that's not the only thing I like about the open source community. You see, there's a whole mentality, a whole philosophy around Linux and the open source thing. And the whole community just comes together to make something that is greater than the sum of its parts. And that's what I really like about this. Like, people working together to try and improve stuff, fix stuff, like create more new things and work in the same direction or in multiple ones if they want to. Now, I'm no developer and I couldn't understand the source code of most of the projects I use even if I tried. But I can contact the developer with a specific issue, with a feature request, or just to talk. And most of the time these things can be included, or I can even sponsor them for them to work on that as a priority. Try to do that with a proprietary software company. You can try it, but that's not going to get you anywhere. Now, the third reason why I really like Linux is the fact that it's free, as in free beer. And most Linux distributions will not ask you for any money before you can use the desktop, and that's true of most programs available on Linux as well. Now, I do understand and I do respect the fact that developers need to eat and that their work deserves their contribution, but they are not trying to force it down your throat before you even got a chance to try their product. They're making a Linux distro, they're making some software, and they're letting you try it. And if you like it, you can contribute to whatever they built. And that's the beauty about this. There is no subscriptions, no huge one-time fee. You can donate, contribute, try it out, and pay what you like if you like. A Linux distro is not linked to a specific piece of hardware. There's no CD key, there's no limits to the number of installs you can make of the same distro on your hardware. You can try it, and if you like it, you can pay for it. And this brings me to the fourth reason why I really like Linux, and that's the contribution thing. Like, if you're a developer, or if you're a tester, or if you're a product manager, you can contribute directly to a project. You can take it in your own hands, you can code stuff, you can write on stuff, you can write documentation, write specifications, or even test the various issues and betas. But if you're not, there are plenty more ways that you can contribute. You can help with marketing, or you can simply help with donations. And there are a lot of avenues to help you do that. Now, almost all projects nowadays have some Patreon page, GitHub sponsor page, PayPal link, whatever you want. If you cannot contribute with your skills, because your skills are not suited to the work that is needed to contribute to the project or Linux as itself, you can contribute monetary donations. And there are plenty of avenues to let you do that, whether recurrently, through Patreon, or through any other means. And I really like the fact that you can give some of your time, some of your skills, or some of your money, or nothing at all if you don't feel like it, to help these projects advance. And now we dive into a more personal aspect, which is customization and tinkering. Linux is by far the most tweakable and configurable operating system. You've got the choice in desktop environment, in software, in themes, in icons, in the position of your applets, your panels, everywhere on the desktop. This is a system that you can tweak and change to your liking to look exactly and work exactly like you want it to. On Windows, sure, you can change a few things, but apart from using third-party software, you're pretty much locked into the experience Microsoft gives you. On macOS X, you basically cannot change anything. So Linux is the only system that allows you to tweak and tinker, and sure, I'm not taking advantage of this using Elementary OS right now, because this is not the most configurable system at all. But the very fact that I could choose Elementary OS over another desktop proposition really makes Linux a more configurable system as a whole. Now, I also love using Linux because of tinkering and the learning experience. Using Linux taught me a lot of stuff about how computers work and how my operating system interacts with my hardware. It was a very interesting experience. And sure, most of the stuff I learned was because back in 2006, when I started using Linux, everything didn't work quite well, and I had to configure and tweak and look for answers. But that taught me so much about computers. It really got me into them, like, completely. And I didn't really care about a computer before, I just wanted something that looked good. And now I'm basically a big nerd, so thanks Linux for that. But more seriously, Linux gives me more opportunities to learn stuff about my computer, about the programs, how they interact together, how they work together, and that basically makes it the ultimate operating system for me, because I like learning new things. This might not be a valid reason for some of you guys. Most people probably don't care about how the computer works, but if you're interested in it, nothing will teach you better than using Linux. Now, yet another subjective reason. I think, for me and my use case, that Linux is the most usable operating system there is. I tried Windows, I tried macOS X, but Linux gives me the better experience out of the three. It's just fast, it's smooth, it's highly configurable, it works the way I want it to, and if you stick to programs made for one desktop environment, it's a lot more cohesive and a more coherent experience than what you can find on any other proprietary OS. This usability thing is also helped by the fact that I can choose the desktop I like and I can configure it any way I want, which makes the various behaviors of the system apps and the third-party apps that I installed more coherent and more suitable to work in the same way. Now, the image of Linux being made for techies might be true in order to get things to work in the first place, but once everything works, the Linux desktop is basically a system made for everybody, and I think it's a lot more designed for the user than what macOS or Windows are. And the last main reason I really love and enjoy using Linux is its online community. This is something that often gets criticized online. The Linux community, the Linux users, they are supposed to be trolls, they are supposed to be mean, they are supposed to be unfriendly to noobs, and in my experience this hasn't been the case at all. you can have discussions, exchanges, you can discuss your various point of views, and often when you don't react in an aggressive way, you can have very interesting conversations even with people that disagree with you. The learning experience, the forums that get you online help, everything is geared towards letting you understand and master your system. So sure, the tolerance for somebody who hasn't looked up any answers on Google and is asking the most basic thing is pretty low, and that's unfortunate. But in the end, if you're willing to be a little bit open-minded and you're willing to not be aggressive in your answers, you can have pretty interesting conversations. And obviously, as in other communities, you might butt heads with people that are really just there to troll or to assert their dominance because they use another system or another thing than what you use. But in the end, most people are really nice, friendly, and useful, and that's really something I enjoy about Linux. These communities might exist on other systems, I have not interacted with them, but I really enjoy the interactions I've had with the Linux community. And these are my reasons why I prefer using Linux over Windows or Mac OS X. Yours might differ, you might even prefer another operating system, and I'd love to hear about these reasons, so let me know down in the comments why you prefer using Linux or any other operating system over something else, and we'll discuss them there. Thank you guys for watching, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't hesitate to like, subscribe, or turn on notifications. I'll see you in the next one, and goodbye.